Welcome, everybody. My name is Eric Blegan. I'm the Executive Director of the Mustard Seed Project of Key Peninsula. Thank you for joining us today. I'm just going to say a few words about what we do. Our mission is to really support seniors to age in place in their community, in their homes and in their community. And so we have a variety of programs that help with that. Transportation, meal deliveries with Key Peninsula Community Services, yard care. That's a program that's really going to be ramping up now that we're in the warmer part of the year, cleaning up seniors' yards, which is a really important thing. Also, we have sail and yoga classes here at the Crandall Center, and we're really appreciating the fact now that we're kind of almost back to something close to normal, which is really lovely. And we're, as you may have heard, we're building assisted living and memory care homes here in Key Center, just right across the road from our Crandall Center building. And it's coming together. If you haven't seen it lately, come up and check it out. But those will be opening up for residents probably in December or so this fall, early winter. So excited about that, and excited too to have Anna Brones here with us today. She's the board president of Two Waters Arts Alliance, and the vision of Two Waters is that all residents of the Key Peninsula will experience joy through creativity and community, which is, I just think, a really lovely vision. And actually, you can see behind Maureen there, and if you come and visit us, which we encourage you to do here at the Crandall Center, we have the Two Waters annual juried art show displayed here in our building. So come by, take a look as you get a chance. And with that, Anna, take it away. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's really great to be able to have a partnership with the Mustard Seed, to have artwork up there, and to be able to do this, to talk a little bit about the arts today. So like you mentioned, Two Waters is sort of all about getting our community to have access to the arts, and like you said, find joy through creativity and community. The organization was started in 2001, and since then we've done a whole variety of things. Most of the bulk of what Two Waters does is sort of provide arts education, and also just access to the arts through programming, classes, and also just events. So today, because we're sort of in this hybrid world these days where we do stuff in person and online, that's kind of been something that we have had to, like many organizations, deal with for the past few years, kind of shift into doing things differently during COVID. And one of the things that Maureen had helped us do through COVID was to film a series of artist studio tours. We just feel really strongly about people in the community having access to the arts, and obviously that was a little bit harder during COVID. But Maureen helped us do these studio tours, and so sort of throughout today as I talk, we're going to share some of those so that you get a little snippet of some of our member artists and what they do. And yeah, so we're going to kick things off. Maureen, if you want to cue up Judy Cleghorn's video.
Welcome to my house and my studio. I am Judy Cleghorn. We're living in beautiful Heron, and I'm so happy that you're here. The studio has been moved out to the garden because, first of all, it's beautiful. Second, it's a great place to paint. And third, I have a foot injury from falling off my bike. I have lived on the Key Peninsula in this house for 45 years. And these days, that's kind of extraordinary. Originally, I'm from Seattle. My background is not in art. I was a philosophy major, political science, foreign languages. I studied in Germany, went to school in California and University of Washington, and some other degrees here and there. Then I went into education, and I was a teacher for a long time, 17 years. Elementary and middle school, and then I was a school administrator. When I retired, I had a chance to start doing art. I had never studied art at all. I had some really good teachers along the way, Bev Peterson, so shout outs to my fabulous early teachers, and I'm so not done with them yet. Robin Peterson was another teacher. Then I went with, at the Y, they offered classes, and that was starting in about 2000, maybe 16. So really I've only been solidly painting for maybe 4 years. I'm a real dilettante. I can't seem to settle, so I started with acrylics, as many people do, and I enjoyed that. That was a good exploration, and I did some really nice paintings in acrylics. Then I moved to watercolor and explored that for a long time, and I love watercolor. It was great. I saw a demonstration by Melissa Weinman, who is a Tacoma artist and renowned and really fabulous, realistic artist, but also very spiritual. So I've studied with her. I went to Italy with her on a painting trip, which was amazing. We used to travel a lot before COVID and take a lot of inspiration from my travels. I love all the passion and color that you get in being in other cultures, and some of that is reflected in my work. I recently have fallen head over heels with pastels. So soft chalk pastels. Lately I've rediscovered watercolors because of my injury, and I love doing plein air with a group of plein air painters here. So watercolors are portable, and that's where I am. These are some of my pastels. This scene is taken at Helen's house down on the beach, a little bit south of the ferry dock, and it's called Sunset at Helen's. The thing about pastels is it's such bold, vibrant color. I'll show you. This is a set of Terry Ludwig's intense darks, and this is Blue Earth pastels, the Nomad collection. So this is, if I can only just take a little bit with me out in the field, I'll just take these. This is when I started here in the garden, and it needs more work. Always do a value study. Figure out where your darkest darks are going to be, your lightest lights, and then a couple of medium range values, and also work on your composition. If you do these things before you start, then the painting almost paints itself, because you're not trying to solve those problems when you're actually on the board that you're using. Over there I have a giant iron statue of a huge bug. It's not exactly a mosquito. It would be the worst mosquito of your life, but it's kind of. And then I had these beautiful purple allium that were blooming behind it. So I love the contrast of the rusty metal with all that luscious, and he's very angular, and then all the luscious sort of roundness and blousiness of the alliums, and the straight lines and the curved lines. I did this working with Melissa Weinman. It's a scene on the Green River, and this is in oil. It was all done with a palette knife, every single stroke. And I actually really love this painting. Here's the reference photo on this one. Again, working with Melissa, trying to capture the translucence, where the light comes through the fruit. How do you capture that beautiful translucence and transmission of the light? So I feel like this was my first try. I felt like it was really good, or maybe my second try. Also with Melissa, this was practicing directional strokes with the chicken. So I think he's pretty darn cute. And I really like this part with the light reflecting. This is another soft chalk pastel. I did this from a photograph I took down at Glen Cove. And since you're all local people, you know where Glen Cove is. And it's just a beautiful scene. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Now, I want to tell you also, I took great liberties with the color.
Thanks, Maureen. It's so fun to get to see an artist in their sort of local surroundings. And, something that's important to the Mustard Seed Project is this concept of aging in place. And I think that that fits really well with the arts and creativity, because I think the arts is really a way to explore the place around us. And if you have a chance to go and see the juried show that's in the Mustard Seed right now, you'll see that there's quite a few artists who really take inspiration from our local community and local surroundings. And I think that art creates this this moment of presence where we pay attention a little bit more. And we're always hoping that people, even if they don't identify as artists themselves, in interacting with the arts, to sort of like tap into a little bit of that as well. As you can see, it's really fun to see an artist talk about their work and engage with their work. And like I said before, we couldn't do much of that during COVID, but we're really excited because this weekend we're doing a big event at the Civic Center, and we're sort of thinking about it as an open studio tour, except where you only have to go to one place. So we have over 15 different artists who are all going to have booths at the Civic Center on Saturday from 1 to 4. And what's going to be really neat about that is it's really set up to be interactive. So all of the artists who are going to be there are not just going to have their work available to look at, but they're also going to be working on a project. And a lot of them have projects set up for people to take part in. So it's going to be really great for kids, just really a way to be able to come and have access to the arts, get to experiment with some things, see kind of all different artists at work. Because I think we have a tendency to think about art as maybe just drawing and painting. And there's really so much within the arts and creativity, from writing to cooking to dancing to singing. The arts really encompasses so many different mediums, and that's really important to us, that that people feel like we're very inclusive and consider all of the arts. So if you are looking for sort of a creative outlet or just something to do on Saturday, I'd highly recommend taking a peek at that at the Civic Center. Like I mentioned, it's free and open to the public. There's going to be music. It's kid friendly, so fun for all ages. And I think it's really important for us, as especially being in a rural community where maybe we don't have as many programs, or we don't have an arts museum locally. It is really important for us as an organization to help to provide some of these opportunities for both education, but also interaction with the arts. I think that often just exposure to the arts, like Judy talked about, feeling like she called herself a dilettante. I wouldn't call her a dilettante. She's very talented, but she's a learner. She's somebody who wants to explore and learn new things, and that's really important when it comes to creativity. And that's really important for us as an organization, just providing opportunities for people to get a little dose of that, because you never really know what's going to take or what's going to spark something. So we've been doing these through COVID. Like I said, we did these video studio tours. Some of the other things that we were doing during COVID to try to maintain the access to the arts, we did a series of art bags where we put together projects and supplies that were offered to kids to sort of make it easy to do art projects at home, because sometimes maybe as a parent, or maybe it's sort of hard to know what projects are going to be good or what's going to be fun. And so just really trying to make that easy during COVID so that there could just be a little bit more access to creativity. We also, for a long time, have had an Artists in Schools program. So that's been really important for us to put professional or working artists into the classroom to work with kids so that they really get exposure to all kinds of art. And fortunately, we were able to run our after school middle school program online during COVID, which we're really grateful to do. And I think, as we mentioned today, we're still doing a lot of these online things, right? Even though we can do more things in person, we're still going to have this hybrid way of doing things and accessing things. So we're actually in the process right now of putting together a new website. So if you go to the Two Waters website right now, it's a little bit outdated, but that's because we're just on the cusp of launching the new one. which is going to have a much more robust directory of all of our member artists. And then also just a little bit more user-friendly, so it's a little bit easier to access projects and the work of some of those artists and the galleries. So to kind of make it a little bit easier to access the arts in the online space. So with that in mind, Maureen, I was thinking we could watch a few minutes of Bill Apple's video.
My name is Bill Apple, and my interest in blacksmithing started probably in the early 1970s in the old welding blacksmith shop. He was just standing there in a sea of fire, it looked like, and he was burning, and I didn't know what it was at the time. With my mother screaming in the background, "Don't watch, you'll go blind." Welding was my first interest. A high school teacher I had, Pete Sorensen. I was a troubled student, learning disability, had trouble reading, dyslexic, and I picked up a welding lead and a stinger in that as a sophomore in high school. That was in 1977, and I could weld. I went to the gas bench, I could pick up a torch, and I could weld. I mean, it was a hand-eye coordination thing. And basically, that launched me into welding. About 30 years ago, I actually got to where I got a forge and an anvil and started blacksmithing into an artistic form. I really was that kid that had trouble with things, and welding was a deal that all of a sudden it came easy to me. Everybody has things that come easy to them, and reading, academics, school, from the day I went to kindergarten till the day I got out, I promised my mother the night she died that I would finish high school. That's the reason I got a high school diploma. The trade's been good to me. I'm a retired union boilermaker and union iron worker. I made a good living. We're going to have rocket scientists. We need nuclear physicists, but the reality of it is we need people that can fix the light in your house, people that can work in your car. Basically want to encourage young people to create with their hands. It can be painting, it can be anything. But get off your computer, get off your game. Take something that doesn't look like anything and turn it into something. It can be all kinds of different deals. It doesn't have to be blacksmithing. To make a living as an artist blacksmith, that's a tough one. It can be done, but it's like any art form. You're gonna have to have other means. So there again, go learn to weld, do things like that. One thing I was fortunate here, some of the best blacksmiths in the world are right here in the Pacific Northwest. And I took a class from Darrell Nelson and on his animal heads, and that was a deal how to make the tools and how to make the pre-shapes and everything to make animal heads, and that opened up all kinds of doors. In that form, with your pre-shape, you're taking metal and it's almost like leather work. You make different tools and you can create the eyes and things like that. It's just like an artist drawing with his shading and that. You can do that with metalwork. The artist blacksmith, in a sense like that, is he's stealing half a dimension with shadows and things to make it try and look three-dimensional. We'll do some of that today. We'll take a piece of bar and we'll make a horse head on the end of a piece of flat bar, and it's quite a transformation when you see it happen. I've got a lot of equipment here, but you don't really need that much. If you've got a forge, a little anvil, it can be a chunk of railroad iron to get you started. It's functional art. A lot of it is things that people hang. You make a door pull or something like that, it's on a door, but it's got a function. It's not like the picture hanging on the wall. You're going to grab it and pull on it. You can make it completely just a hunk of iron sitting there, or you can make it something that people say, boy, that looks nice. So I guess that makes you feel good. This is a Art Deco piece that I did in a workshop some years ago, and as I mentioned, I was various people in the blacksmithing world that I was very fortunate to meet. I mentioned Darrell Nelson earlier and Gary Eagle. That would be my Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in the blacksmith world. This was a Gary Eagle design piece that I made in a workshop, and the deal was it was Art Deco and you made all of the elements. And I took several, I think there was 5 classes. I took all those from Gary. And then the red glass red always looks good on ironwork in my opinion. This was another deco piece done in a Gary Eagle class that I never did finish. I needed to clean it up and wax it. I might be inspired to do that here after this.
Thanks, Maureen. I really love what Bill had to say at the beginning there, talking about when he was younger and feeling like he had trouble with a lot of things in school. I think that art and creativity is often this avenue that's very different, and allows both students but also adults an outlet to do something different. And I think that's why it's really important for us to do classes. So like I mentioned, doing our artists in schools classes, but we also do community classes. Thanks, that's a partnership that we have with the Mustard Seed Project, hosting fairly regular art classes of all kinds. Just in the last couple of months, there's been a drawing class. I know there's going to be some alcohol ink class, just really all kinds of things so that people can just really like get in and like he said, kind of get off your computer and create something. I think that we all spend probably quite a bit of time on our computers and quite a bit of time doing a lot of things where we're not using our hands. And I think that that's where the arts can be really important for people as a way to learn, a way to experience, a way to create. These are all, we're sort of, as humans, we're all creative. And I think that we also often have a tendency to think of ourselves either as an artist or a non-artist. We sort of live with this myth that some people are creative and some are not. And the truth is that creativity really functions as a muscle, right? It's one that we have to use regularly. It's one that we can work at and build up. And so that's important for us as an organization to, we know when we're working with kids in schools, it's really to provide those tools at an early age, not because we think it's going to lead to a career in arts necessarily, but just because we believe that creativity is just a really essential part of being a good human being and an active member of our community. So that's why sort of some of those classes and programming feel very important to us, because maybe you take a class and maybe you decide that you really want to become you want to devote yourself to that craft, but you also might just take a class and it might just pique your interest in doing something new and different. And maybe it just gets you thinking about things differently. And I think that's where art is very important. And it's why having arts and access to arts in a community is really important. So I do want to talk a little bit about our art walk, because that's kind of our big event that we put a lot of time and energy into. But I just want to watch just a little bit of Patty Nebel's video so we can see Maureen picked out 3 different artists that work in very different mediums, which I think is great because it's so like I said before, it's such a good reminder that there's all kind of art and there's all kind of things that we can do with art, and there's not one way to do art right. It's sort of however creativity manifests itself for you. So we're going to watch a little bit of Patty, who works as a ceramicist.
And I'm going to fast forward a little bit through this so that we can skip the intro and actually see Patty at her wheel.
Great, thank you.
You want it to be thoroughly dry. And then you take a rib, these are ribs, and they come in wood. This one is a flexible rubber. They also come in plastic. Just by using it to smooth down the top was already pretty smooth, but this will help prevent it from warping as it warms up. And then I've got a mold. I'm going to put it over this mold. So that tells you how big I want it to be. And then we'll cut it out. Cut it out using a needle tool. You got to be careful when you're cutting it out to make sure that you're going straight down and not slanting. So I make a lot of my own stamps for impressions. This was a living sunflower. Here's a flower that I created. Here's an octopus out of a coloring book. Here's stamps that I got at the craft shops. How about we do this one? We'll do an evergreen. And you just want to make sure that it is evenly distributed so your impression is the same depth on the pot. And then the stamp is removed carefully. And there you go. We have an evergreen tree on our piece. I'm going to put it on my mold, but it's going to go face down so that when you have this piece on your table, you can see that evergreen tree. So you just work this down gently. As it dries, it may very well want to come up some more, and you work it down gently again. This would probably be totally dry and ready to fire in about a week. You want it to dry evenly, so when I put that in some place to dry, I will tint it with plastic. To throw a pot on the wheel, the first thing you have to do is center it, which means you've got to get your hunk of clay in the very middle of the wheel head. And it is, unfortunately, for the beginning person, that is the hardest thing to do in the whole clay making process. I've centered. And now I'm opening it up. And you do that by putting in one finger at a time until there is a hole that will form the center of your bowl or your pot. You want to open it up down to about 1 finger length from the top of the wheel head, but you're making that decision on the inside, and that's kind of tricky. So what I often tell my students is open it up and pull it out to you where you can see what's going on a little bit and measure it with your needle tool. And you do that by just putting the needle tool straight down into the bottom and then running your finger down to where it runs into the clay. So my bottom is now this thick, and that's pretty good.
Thanks, Maureen. I don't do any pottery, and just watching that makes me want to get my hands dirty in some clay. That's what I think is so cool about seeing artists at work, is it's such a reminder that these are really crafts. These are things that people have taken time to work at. And, I think when you're an artist, that things take practice. And I think often when we look at art from the outside, we have this expectation or sort of think that some people are just very talented and others are not. And really all of this stuff can be learned. And that's why this sort of education component is very important to us. And it's why we really believe in having classes for all ages, just because all of this stuff can be taught and can be learned, and we can all practice at it. And I think that the more access to creativity that we have in our everyday lives, the sort of better that we feel. I think even Bill had mentioned that too, just sort of, especially if you don't feel good at other things, creativity and art can be this outlet that makes you feel better, really. And that's why art and education and art therapy, all those things are so important. So like I said before, I want to talk a little bit about the art walk, because that's kind of our big event of the year that fortunately we're going to be doing in person again this August. We did it in person last August, and maybe some of you have come before because this year is going to be our 7th annual art walk. So that every year is hosted on the first Wednesday in August. So this year that is August 3rd. It's going to be from 4 to 8 in the evening. And I just really love the art walk because yes, it's a chance to go and see art and artists, but it's just also a chance to connect with the community. And I think that, for Two Waters, we really think of arts and creativity as being a vehicle for more community connection. And so last year we had over 40 different artist booths all around Key Center, planning for sort of the same size again this year. So just as many artists, lots of different venues, lots of different activities. And I know that it's like one of my favorite parts of the year. One, because it just feels like we really live in a vibrant and connected community. And I think particularly coming out of COVID, that doesn't always, sometimes it can feel a little bit hard to feel that way, but that's one of those events that we feel really strongly about because we're providing access to the arts. We're providing a space for our member artists to display their work, which is really important. But then also, like I said, just creating this space where we can all come together and be in community together at all ages, which is really important. So we'll be doing that, like I said, on August 3rd. We will also most likely have some artwork up in the library as well. There'll be art all around Key Center, which is really fun. So we also, as an organization, as you saw, we had these 3 artist videos that we got to watch. As an organization, we have members, and some members are artists, some members are just people who like the arts and like to be supportive of the arts. And so if you are interested in being a member, feel free to reach out to us. We're also definitely always looking for people to help out with putting on some of these events and things. So we definitely are looking for some volunteers if you want to help out with the art walk and putting that on this year. We're always more than happy to have people helping out. We're also doing a few more programs this spring and summer with kids. And we're going to be taking part in Vaughan Elementary's Stream Night in May, and so doing an art project that kind of combines art and science, because that's a really important intersection that we feel very strongly about. And so if you're interested in any of those things, we always love hearing from people. And, if you're interested in classes, but haven't seen us doing a class of a medium that you're interested in, just feel free to reach out, because we're always looking for ideas of new things to do and new ways to connect with the community and kind of, just bring more arts to the Key Peninsula and really connect the Key Peninsula with the arts. So that's my deal. Hopefully you guys thought of some questions.
Well, Anna, while we're looking for questions, I'd like to mention the new venture that Two Waters, in partnership with Food Backpacks for Kids and the Mustard Seed, have going, and that's every second Friday afternoon at 4:30. We're having a Spanish speakers knitting and crocheting group, and they're bringing their children, and Two Waters are putting together a little art project to keep the kids entertained, so that the mums and dads are free to chat and learn a new craft. And tonight, actually tomorrow night will be our second one. The first one was very successful. We had 7 children of quite a variety of ages, and we did string painting, and I think I had as much fun as they did. So we're hoping that project will really grow. And one thing that Two Waters has in common with the Mustard Seed Project and Food Backpacks for Kids is that we want to partner with as many community groups as we possibly can, and foster just intergenerational, inter-interest programs. The more the merrier, as far as we're concerned. So let me check and see what we have in the chat.
And while you're doing that, Maureen, just here to that. We've really, the intergenerational activities and classes and things are just the best, and I'm really looking forward to when we open our homes across the road here, and we can hopefully integrate some of the elders in the programs with the kids and all the things that you're doing, and it's really exciting, and thank you for that excellent what you said about your work and those videos. And I really like your point about artists are not some special distinct breed from the rest of us. We are all artists, and I think that was you made a great case for that, so I really appreciate that.
Good.
Maureen, did you have some questions?
No, I'm not seeing any at the moment.
One thing I was going to ask about, I've heard a little bit that there was a recent piece of legislation passed by the state legislature in the last session that actually requires schools to have teaching artists come in and have equal time with math classes. Do you know have you heard much about that?
I don't, but that makes me want to go look that up afterwards. I mean, I think that culturally, I think that we have separated the two, right? And there is such an intersection between the two. And I would say that, I think we have this sort of idea of like right brain and left brain thinking, which if you do any research on how the brain works, it's actually not quite how it functions. But I think we still live with this idea that like some people are artist brains and some people are like math and engineering brains. And I've been recently working on a project that involves a lot of engineers and designers. And I will say that they have some of the most amazing creative problem solving skills. And I think that that's what's so interesting about arts education is I really think arts education is creativity education. And we all need creative thinking skills, whether we are artists or we're accountants or we're executive directors, right? We all have to think creatively. And I think that I want to go look that up, because I think that that is the way forward, is to be, really highlighting those intersections, so we're not just separating things out and we're having a more holistic approach. Absolutely.
Here.
So Anna, you mentioned that Two Waters is a membership-based organization. Can you tell us a little bit about the advantages of being a member?
Sure. Well, like I mentioned, we're in the process of getting this new website together, which hopefully is going to be up and running in the next month or so. And one of the main benefits for anybody who is an artist is going to be that as a member artist, you're going to be able to have a listing on that website. And as of right now, there's no listing that exists for just artists on the Key Peninsula. So we're really excited about being able to have that and have that be really robust. Like I said before, we're kind of getting back into doing events. So we used to do many more events. Like we used to do Spring Fling, we would do concerts, and those were ticketed events. And as we move forward and bring some of those things back, members will always get a discounted ticket rate on those things. So that's a perk. Obviously, the perk for supporting the arts in the community. A lot of money goes to supporting some of these artists in schools programs. So like I said, I just taught a couple months ago at the KPMS after school art program. And so that has a different artist every single month that comes in once a week. So membership money goes to a lot of those programs as well. And I would say too that, things like the art walk, that is something that requires money as well, and membership dollars go to supporting that. And it also allows us to keep these things free and accessible for the public, because that is really important, particularly in a community like ours, making sure that like our event this coming Saturday at the Civic Center, that is not something that you need to buy a ticket for. It's something that you are welcome to come and attend and take part in. And so membership dollars go to supporting that. Also, like this weekend with those artists who are participating, member artists get a free booth. Anybody who's not a member artist has to pay for a booth. So there's sort of some of those things that are sort of built into the programming that we do in terms of membership benefits.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any other questions right now, Eric.
Okay. You did a really good presentation, so I don't think there are many questions because of that. Well, if there aren't any more, Maureen, did you have anything else, or Julie?
Just to remind people that again on May 5th, we have Lisa Larson from Safe Streets. And then on May 19th, we have a really good community forum on substance abuse, hope, and recovery. And I know that that's a hot topic around the Key Peninsula, and stand by for other great topics coming up. And
just thank you so much, Anna, for joining us today. And I'm sure we're going to want to have you back at some point again to hear more and what you're doing. And I think some of us, I will be at the thing at the Civic Center coming up too, so I'll see you there.
Great.
But thank you so much. Really appreciate all the good work you're doing.
Yeah, and thanks to you guys for putting this stuff on. I think that the more things like this that we have, the more of a robust community that we build, and it's just really important.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Take care.